So I've been keeping up with this story about the 14-year-old that committed a mass shooting here in I live in Barrow County, so I'm literally less than a 5-minute drive away from the school. The subdivision that I live in is filled with the children and, of course, families of the children that attend that high school. We've got some interesting information that's not being shared on the news in reference to what occurred. But this is a story that I just came across on Law and Crime. This is the preliminary hearing for the 14-year-old Colt Gray and his father that have been charged with the shooting. Take a look, and I've got some more information for you at the end here.
All right, good morning, sir. Are you Mr. Colt Gray? Yes, sir. My name's Curry Mingledorf. I'm assigned to preside over this morning's proceedings. Mr. Gray, I do need to inquire as to whether you're able to read and write the English language.
Yes, sir.
All right. I also want to inform you, I want to ask you, do you understand that you have the right to be represented by an attorney in these proceedings?
Yes, sir.
And you are, in fact, represented today, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Zane Harmon, you're here on behalf of this defendant, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and you understand that you have the right to be continuously represented throughout this proceeding, and if you cannot afford to hire counsel, then this court is obligated under the Constitution to provide counsel for you without cost to you. All right, I am going to inform you of a few other matters, and I'm not going to ask you anything, just inform you. So one is, I want to make sure that you are aware that you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to say anything at all. And it's important to understand that because anything you might say could be used against you at further proceedings associated with your case. I want to inform you of the charges that you currently face. In essence, you are charged with 4 counts of felony murder, as outlined in the state warrants that have been issued against you. I want to make you aware that the maximum penalty for felony murder, so for each count, the maximum penalty is that you could be punishable by death, by imprisonment for life, without parole, or by imprisonment for life, with the possibility of parole. If you have any questions about these charges, then I would urge you to discuss those with your attorney. I would invite you, Mr. Harmon, to inform the court as to whether there's a request for bond at this time.
At this time, Your Honor, there is not a request for bond. We will file the appropriate motions if that becomes necessary.
All right. An indictment by the grand jury for most felony offenses or accusations, you have the right to receive an indictment for these offenses. And I assume Mr. Brad Smith is here on behalf of the DA's office, or he is our district attorney, and he's accompanied by Ms. Patricia Brooks, who is his chief assistant. A preliminary hearing, you'll have the right also to a preliminary hearing, unless you make a bond, which of course at this point there's no bond being requested, or unless you waive such a hearing. You have the right to a speedy and public trial by a judge or a jury. You have the right to confront and cross-examine all witnesses. You have the right to call witnesses on your own behalf and testify in your own defense if you so choose. As you sit here in this courtroom today, under the law, you are presumed innocent. Your refusal to testify at any point in any proceeding will not be used against you in determining whether you are guilty or not guilty. Counsel, let me just inquire as to whether there are any other items that the court should address before we conclude this preliminary hearing.
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
Well, I do have one piece of information to convey to the court. There was a development yesterday afternoon that makes it necessary for our office to have alternate counsel appointed. and arrangements have already been made in that regard. I've already explained that to Mr. Gray. An alternate counsel will be appointed by the end of the day today.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Donna C. Graves. All right, then with that, this hearing is concluded, and you may escort this defendant out.
Okay, so I want to stop it for just a second. So as you can hear, he's been charged with 4 counts of murder. And I don't know if I said earlier in when I first started that this is taking place in Barrow County. It's taking place in Winder, Georgia. A lot of them have been pronouncing it as Winder, but it's pronounced Winder. And this is the high school that is nearest to my home, less than a 5-minute drive away. And again, I've got some information that I don't think that the media is sharing. I will give you guys that information or tell you guys that information at the end of the video here. This is the end of the son's Colt Gray. This is the end of his preliminary hearing. In a few moments, you're going to see his father come in, and you'll be able to hear his charges.
Right, with that, I understand that we have another appearance hearing. And at this hearing, I'm first going to ask you just a few questions, and then I'm going to advise you of your rights and also let you know about a preliminary hearing that's been scheduled for you. Why don't you just state your name, please? All right, pull the microphone down, please. There you go. All right, and how old are you, Mr. Gray?
54.
And are you able to read and write and understand the English language without
Yes,
any
sir.
difficulty?
Yes, sir.
How far did you go in school?
11th grade GED.
Okay. And I note that you have counsel seated with you at the table. You understand that you have the right to be represented by an attorney at all times for this and all future proceedings in your case?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that, of course, if you cannot afford an attorney, that the public defender will be appointed to
If being with your pet relieves stress, anxiety, and improves your
Sorry about
well-being,
that, guys.
it's time to get them
Of course, if you cannot afford an attorney, that the public defender will be appointed to the system is working. And all right, so the following aren't questions that I'm going to ask. I'm just informing you of some things. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you at further hearings or at a trial on the charges that you're facing. For this hearing, you're not going to be questioned about facts and circumstances surrounding your charges. You are currently charged with, and you'll be provided with copies of the warrants if you don't already have them. You're currently charged with 2 counts of felony murder in the second degree. You're charged with 4 counts of felony involuntary manslaughter. You're charged with 8 counts of felony cruelty to children in the second degree. Now, for these offenses, for the felony murder counts in the second degree, felony murder in the second degree, the maximum penalty for each count is up to 30 years imprisonment. For felony involuntary manslaughter, of course, again, there are 4 counts. The maximum penalty for each of those offenses is 10 years imprisonment. For the 8 felony cruelty to children counts, the maximum penalty under the law for each of those 8 counts is 10 years imprisonment, for a maximum total possible penalty for the charges that you currently are facing of 180 years imprisonment. If you have questions about these charges, which I assume that you will, the court urges you to discuss those with your attorney. Let me inquire as to whether there's a motion for bond. If Mr. Gray is moving for bond at this time?
No, sir, not at this time. We will allow alternate counsel to make that decision.
All right, thank you. All right, I also need to inform you that you have the right to an indictment by a grand jury, and you also have the right to a preliminary hearing unless you make bond or waive such a hearing. You have the right to a speedy and public trial by a judge or jury. You have the right to confront and cross-examine all witnesses. You have the right to call witnesses on your own behalf and testify in your own defense if you so choose. I want to make it clear to you, Mr. Gray, that you are presumed innocent. Your refusal to testify at any point cannot be used against you in determining whether you are guilty or not guilty. I mentioned the first appearance hearing a moment ago. That is being set for you for December 4th, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. Currently that's set to take place in the Magistrate Court of Barrow County. It could be subject to change, but I just want you to know that that is the date that we currently have. In fact, counsel, could you approach, please? I have this, let's see, I need to scratch this out. This document that discusses bond and gives the date of the preliminary hearing, and I guess I could sign that, and you can just get a copy of it. And then the warrants are attached to that. So I would like for him to sign it. Turn it over, please.
Sign right there, just so you're getting a copy of this. He is giving you a copy. He'll give you a copy of all the warrants. Do you want me to go ahead and give him his copy?
Yes, please.
And the page continues. So you're wrong on the first one. And are these his copies of the warrants?
Those are provided, and they say service copies on them, so I assume that they're for him. Sergeant Briscoe, do you concur with that? Is that what those copies are for?
That's the detention center.
Those are for the detention center? So he's got his own copies, or he'll have them provided? All right, so the detention center wants to hold on to those. All right, let me, and thank you, Ms. Seagraves. I want to certainly acknowledge the presence of our district attorney, Mr. Brad Smith. He's assisted by his chief assistant, Patricia Brooks. Is there anything else, counsel, that the court needs to address that I have neglected to address?
No, Your Honor.
No, sir, not at this time.
All right. I do want to thank those who are in the gallery who have an interest and who have appeared. I appreciate the decorum that has been maintained throughout this proceeding, or both of these proceedings today. And with that, this matter is adjourned.
The attorney who's going to represent you, I think his name is James Rogers. We're going to have to make that official later today. But he'll come and see you probably the first part of next week.
Okay.
So I am going to stop it right there, guys. However, so you guys were able to see this again, the preliminary hearing for Colt and his father. Looks like they're both going to be serving life in prison. You know, they both were, Colt was charged with 4 counts of murder. His father was charged with murder, child endangerment, and I believe, involuntary manslaughter. They said all of the charges could total up to 180 years in prison for him. So, again, like I said, it looks like both of them will be serving the rest of their life in prison. But as I promised, I said that I would share some information with you guys that I do not think the news or media has been sharing. Because I live here in Barrow County, few minutes, less than a 5 minute drive away from the school. All the children in my subdivision attend this high school. And because I've been able to receive information from some of the families and parents in the neighborhoods, it appears to me that from some of the things that I have seen that the emergency responders knew about the fact that there was a possibility of this happening prior to it happening. Some of them had even shared with their children that it might be happening. There were a total of 3 other schools that were apparently supposed to be involved in this shooting as well. And it looks like at Apalachee this was the only school where he succeeded to carry out his crime. But again, as you guys can see in the video, they were showed the families. Those were the people that were lined up on the front row, and you can just the pain. This is a heartbreaking story just to see their faces, and it is truly heart wrenching. My heart goes out to those families. I send my condolences, my true heartfelt condolences to all of those families. And I will be keeping up with this story. Um, Thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And you guys make the best of your day. Thanks again for watching.